Hey guys, Jeff Sparks again here at Between Paint, and we're revisiting a painting that was sent to us for critique, and this painting is by Jean Marie Chapman. In video part one of this series for Jean Marie's painting, we looked at the photograph and ways to adjust it, but also the way that informs our information and what we're supposed to be looking for in the reference material we have to help inform the painting that we've painted or in the process of painting. So this session is devoted entirely to the painting itself. This is the situation of the painting as it was brought to my attention, as it was sent to me in a JPEG file. Okay, hey, turning to our painting now. I'm using the video program. It can't show the entire screen, but I've tried to get enough of the tools that I'm using here that when you're seeing it, you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm going to take the lasso select tool right now. And the first thing I'm going to look at this painting by way of critique is to say that there are about 4 or 5 elements we're going to address. And one of them is looking at this very pretty face. Now, our job is to find a few ways to really help Jean Marie's painting pop off the canvas. And so that's what we're going to attempt to do today. A few things that that I'm going to bring to your attention are things that I discovered as I was working through the part 1 video tutorial where we're looking at our reference work and ways to manipulate and look at that. So today we're going to jump right in to the painting and use those elements in the painting now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hover my mouse right around this young girl's face. Now in the painting, the thing that strikes me the most is that it is the most well-lit object in this painting. The problem, and this is what Jean Marie was even bringing to my attention, was how to really make this pop and have a little more depth and realism. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a third of this face here, and you're going to see me drawing, I hope, a little line. Now those marching ants around the central portion of the face, they're going to select a section of this face. Now the reason why I've selected the middle third is that predominantly when you have a face in a painting, you really have a concentration of the pinks and the reds and so on. Right here, the blood flow, which you have 2 of the major organs right there, the nose and the eyes, the cheeks giving blood content to the face. And so you're always going to have a real nice rosy redness to the center area, more than you would other parts of the face. Typically, every face is different. I've painted many of them, and all the rules can be broken. They're only rules of thumb. And so, as a rule of thumb, we want to try to maybe see if we can help this painting out by changing the color structure here. So I'm going to go up to a window. Since you can't see it, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going up to the Image tab, pulling down Adjustments, and getting the Hue and Saturation window up. I'm going to bring that to the screen where you can see what I'm doing. Now the first thing I'm going to do is maybe darken it a little. I felt it was just a little too bright. So we're going to darken what colors are there at the moment. Now I have the choice of maybe increasing the saturation or decreasing it. Typically you want a higher degree of saturation because unless you're painting zombies, there really is no sense of having a grayscale face. It really makes it dead and cold. So I'm going to move the saturation up a little bit and concentrate that painting to a little more richness. The other thing I can adjust here, and I'll definitely do it in this little square of marching ants, is the hue. The hue, or the color, is really just the family of color that is expressed. Now it looks pretty good right now, so maybe I don't have to adjust it, but I might. So let's play around with it a little bit. If I take it and move it one direction, it gets really pink. Another direction, it starts going green. Well, let's avoid green as well in the face as a predominant color. Although in shadows you will often see the blue and green happening, and other parts of the face as well. So every face has just 1,000 colors. I'm going to work that saturation down, just as an example, push it a little farther toward the red spectrum there. Now by hitting Control D, that should take those marching ants away here in just a second. I'm going to hit OK there. Control D to deselect that. Now, obviously, this is for information purposes. It's very geometric. We're not going to actually hand this back to Jean Marie and expect that straight lines are going to be everywhere. So bear with that limitation of the technology. I'm going to also draw another marching ant selection right up there. Now, typically, you're going to find that more of the cadmium yellows, the warmer yellows, and these are typically reflected lights, will be found in the upper third of the exposed face. And again, the reason for this is lighting conditions typically. So every color in the face, as you probably already know, is completely dependent on the temperature of the light hitting the face. The face and the skin and the blood below it, they're so translucent that colors are really bouncing around all over the place. But if we could simplify it to some overstated generality, in general, the top third of the exposed face is going to have a warmth. You're going to see a lot of highlights there because of the bone structure of the brow sticking out and the forehead moving back toward the head, so it's going to catch a lot of light. Now I'm going to pull that image adjustment layer right back up. We're going to do the same here. Can we darken it and kind of match a little bit of that? I think we can, and it will add to it. Now saturation, wow, you know, what direction do we go? Maybe something like that, moving it up to the right a little bit. Here though, let's see if any color adjustments work. We can move it toward the red, toward the green, or kind of leave it alone. Matt, split the difference and kind of leave it alone. Well, I think that's pretty good to get the point across there. Control D to deselect that. And that's really helping us get a common idea of the structure of the face. And let me escape here. Okay, so we're going to come down and do the lower portion. What have you heard when it comes to faces and instruction? Hey, these videos are meant to help everyone, at least to some extent. And so your comments below this YouTube video are vital to those listeners and, I'm sorry, those viewers that are looking at it. So feel free to add absolutely anything. If you need to correct something I've said, please do. I'm offering basic generalities, so I totally know that your perspective can really help this out. And if you kind of like what you're seeing here too, don't forget to pass the word around in the social media circles, because the more people that watch, I think the more people that can contribute. Now going back again to the lower third of the face, I've heard different things, because when the face falls to shadow, that begins to present a different dynamic. As any form turns away from the light, there is both a cooling, a darkening, and yet also a warming at some portions where the light is bouncing back into the form itself. I think Jean Marie captured that reflected light into the shadow, which warms the color of the shadow. I think she captured that brilliantly. It's this first part of the face that I think we would want to look at here, and by lowering the lightness on that a little, kind of making it match a little bit, I think we can do some good stuff there. It kind of helps get the form turned a little better. Maybe that's too much. Maybe something like that. I'm going to also move the saturation a little there and see if that helps. If I increase it, you can really see the orange pop out, so I kind of want to avoid that. I don't know, maybe just kind of leave it somewhere around there. Yeah, up a little bit. Yeah, I think I might leave it alone. Well, anyway, there we go. I think that is, again, minus the lines and the imperfect nature of doing this. When you use Photoshop, this is a great way to get a good start on a painting. And if you run into obstacles, you could sit there, pop your photo of your painting into Photoshop and begin to play around with the elements. I'm going to move on from the face for a second, and let me just turn off all the activity we did there. Now, the next thing that I noticed with this painting is that this armrest right through here is really screaming for attention. Now, that's a great compositional element, a good entry point into the painting. The arm breaks that, but there's two things here that would need a little adjustment. First of all is the color, and second is the arm seems to match right along the side. And so, you know, when you have that happen where edges meet and they begin to form one edge together, that flattens that area tremendously. My recommendation would be to, if we start down here, take out some of this color, but I'm going to show you a little trick here. Hopefully this will work. And I'm going to turn on the gradient tool, maybe. All right. Now, the gradient tool can really help darken some things down, and I think that's great. That helps. I'm going to go back up to the image adjustment and choose hue, and let's desaturate that. Whereas in the face, we probably don't want to mess too much with desaturating. When you have other lifeless elements in a painting, desaturating can sometimes help. I'm looking at that, I'm like, okay, it darkens it probably too much, but it does take it out. But using tools like that can really help you make some of these decisions. And just undo that there, hopefully. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to take this whole painting down in right here. Let me get that back up. Okay, so I'm going to take the red of this here and just move that down. I'm going to choose red instead of using the master setting, which is combining all the colors of the painting, I'm really going to highlight that which is red and see if we can nail that. The first thing is, what is red in here? So I'm going to really pop up that saturation to see what I will be affecting if I move that down. If I completely wipe out all the red, see what happens. You lose a lot of things there in that young girl's face. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and do another lasso here, a lasso tool, and go right through her arm there and just go ahead and take out all of this. Be pretty aggressive with it. Now, when I select a section like this, everything I'm going to change is only going to happen inside that section. If I wanted to protect that section, what I would do is inverse that selection. Everything outside of the marching ants would be affected. So you can really do some good testing with your painting when you do this. Okay, if I bring the saturation down in that area, forgiving, of course, that I'm affecting her arm, I can really see the effect of that structure. I mean, that's really the way it needs to be there. If I get out of that, you can see that by simply eliminating the red, that has already begun to pop the dimensionality of the young girl, who is, by the way, the subject of the painting. So I think that's one of the first considerations, is to scrape out that red or glaze or cover over it in some way and really knock that back. The painting is not affected by doing that in any way but positive. Other things I would do, if Jean Marie, you're out there listening to this, and others, is take care of this area where the elbow is, and since we want to be anatomically correct, you would probably correct the elbow edge and the arm edge by bringing this dark color up right through there. So all this dark brown, maybe bring that up a little bit here, and that way you can start getting some of your arm back as a good design device there. Did that make any sense? Anyway, I hope so. Hey, the third thing I want to hit with this painting, and we'll move pretty quickly through it. Let me turn off that. See what kind of a difference that makes? Pretty amazing. Well, the next thing I want to mention is something that is seen frequently. It happens when all of us are painting and we're lost in the moment in the painting, and everything we've read or learned is inside our head, tossing itself around. And that is that we know something about shadows need to be cool. And here in one of the videos I did recently called the Paris Critique, and well, actually, it might have been another one, but all throughout all of these videos, I'm talking about color temperature a lot. The reason is because this is one place where I think most of us, if we stumble on something, we're going to probably stumble on color temperature, because it's not greatly understood correctly. Just looking at this here a moment, when we have been told that shadows are cool, lights are warm in general, we know there are exceptions to the rule, but when we're not dealing with an exception, we have a tendency to, instead of cooling the shadow, turning the shadow into a cool color. Now pay attention to this. That is a huge difference. Shadows, or when form turns away from the light, there is a tendency for it to cool, but you have to know what that local color is. I mean, you might have a nice warm yellowish green, and if that form turns away from the light, you're not getting blue, you're just getting a cooler version of that warm yellowish green. So it's slightly cooling itself, although it's still predominantly a warm color. And that would be the one thing that I point out here, is if we put some more of those marching ants around this pillow, this cushion on this divan or this chair, if you look at that, the color has been turned into a cool color instead of actually cooled. So let's see if it works. See if this is something that might help the painting. Maybe. See here, the things aren't working like I'm supposed to. Anyway, okay, let's try this again. Okay. All right, so I'm going to come back here as I work with Photoshop and highlight that in a new layer. Come to Image, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation, and let's switch the master color to blue. And let's see if blue is what shows up. Yeah, there's some blue there. So let's go ahead and knock that not only down in saturation, let's warm up the hue a little bit there as well. I think that's pretty good. We can even lighten it, darken it, however we want. But a little work on that tells me that I'm in the right direction. It may not be perfect, but I'm in the right direction. And desaturating it doesn't hurt it too much at all. So yeah, you can see that just by doing that, we've at least warmed up the shadow there. And I think if the artist does come back into the painting, take some of the color that she's going to find right up here, right up there, and use that as the base color and move it down in value and lose some of that saturation perhaps. Yeah, I think that's going to make a big difference. And so that leads me to the background. The thing about the background is that if I compare it to the photo reference is actually a pretty dark gray. If you take black and the next 2 or 3 colors above black, just even on the simple grayscale, that's what I saw what was going on in the reference photo, and it really provided a lot of depth. You'll see this a lot. Thomas Eakins, I don't have the painting in front of me now, but he had a huge controversial painting called The Gross Anatomy. And you can look it up, Thomas Eakins' The Gross Anatomy. And then you'll see this one thing that I've always been amazed about with backgrounds. He used one color and one color only to create just about every single face of the audience circled in the round of this Gross Anatomy lab. And that it was just a nice brownish, rich brown color. All of his color was concentrated on the subject. None or very little of it in the pews or chairs surrounding the auditorium. Go look at every one of those faces in The Gross Anatomy by Thomas Eakins, and you'll see what I mean. Now, I bring that up because, you know, there's an opportunity to really make this painting stand out in depth, in three-dimensional space, by adding some abstract background elements. I think the painting had, or the photo reference had maybe a piano, a staircase in the back or something. It doesn't really matter, but if there's some perspective lines back there and a little variation of color, I mean a little variation of value, and the color is not blue. The thing about blue is that it's cold. Yes, it's a cold color, and often that will push atmosphere back. But in this case, what it's actually doing is creating a lot of competition, because it's such a brilliant blue, a brilliant ultramarine that's getting a lot of the negative space, a lot of the negative attention. So I would recommend that we kind of tone down the blue a little bit here, and perhaps make some of those abstract elements with perspective lines and just values, and play around with that. The moment that happens, this object and subject becomes set into three-dimensional space. I think will really help it stand out. And anything you can do to make a captivating painting, please do it. Well, those are my thoughts. 3 major ideas in this, 3 or 4. And I really appreciate you listening. It's a little longer, but I wanted to give Jean Marie a real good video here where we talk about these elements. And for you too, as an artist, I hope these types of critiques help you out. I'm open anytime you want to shoot me a photo of your painting. If you want to do that, try to include the photo reference as well, so I have a base of comparison. Totally cool if you don't have it. We'll go from there. But you never know. Yours might become the next Between Paint video. And for Between Paint, my name is Jeff Sparks. Thank you so much for watching.